Hi, I'm John Marshall Roberts, author of The Voice Code. I'm a leadership and communication coach. I help people find and fulfill their life's calling so that they can thrive in the new economy doing what they love. And today I want to talk to you about an explosive topic. That topic is power. Specifically, your power, your personal power to influence the world and get what you want. So let me ask you as we begin, where in your life do you feel that you could use power the most? Where do you feel most powerless? Is there an area where you feel frustrated? Perhaps you have big ideas, but you have a hard time bringing them to the world. Maybe you have a hard time finishing projects. Or maybe you're really good at that, but every time you look at a certain guilty pleasure, a food or a substance, you find yourself drawn into patterns of dissociating and watching TV while eating, smoking, or drinking, whatever that is. Or maybe you've got that handled. You're in great physical shape. You've got your body handled, right? Your health, you're good in the career, but every time it comes to relationships, there's a certain person or a certain type of person who sucks you into these unhealthy patterns that end up compromising your whole life, and you can't seem to get out of it. If you have a pattern like this, you're in good company. Everybody does. In fact, if you don't have a pattern like this, I would be surprised. I've never met anybody who doesn't have an area where their will becomes weak and where they become vulnerable to temptations, to doing the wrong things or to confusion and not getting lost and not knowing where to go or what to do because they're actually avoiding following their conscience or facing some fear that they're holding within. So the bottom line here is that all of these types of patterns exist for a reason. And when I tell you the reason, you may not agree with me. I just ask you to keep an open mind, because if you do, accept the point of view I'm going to offer you, it'll show you a way out of the maze of powerlessness that is one that our world seldom, if ever, mentions in polite company, and definitely not in mainstream conversation. The way out of these sorts of problems and the way to access your power is not to focus on trying to fix the problems that you're having out there, or even to shame or force compliance on yourself to try to be a better person. You want to stop fixing or changing yourself, right? Because that assumes that there's something wrong with you. And understand that what you're doing, the source of your problem in those domains, right, is always going to be that you've hidden your power and projected it out there as a problem, right? And you are now powerless because you're refusing to own up to what you've done. In other words, all of the power that you need exists in the feelings of powerlessness that come up around whatever it is that holds you back. A lot of people, especially in the New Age community, say that we create our own reality. And hopefully, if you're listening to this, you probably at least somewhat agree with that, because everything that I'm offering is to help us actually implement that truth in our day-to-day lives. And that really is the problem. This is where the rubber meets the road. When it comes to power, a lot of us who believe spiritual things, we don't actually know how to bring those things into the world because we're afraid of our own power. And we've hidden that power where? In our feelings of powerlessness. Right? Now, to make matters worse, we hide from our feelings of powerlessness through idealistic plans and schemes that we can never quite bring into the world, and we don't know why. And I'm telling you right now why. The why is that you're hiding from your own feelings of powerlessness. The power is not out there to create your reality. You do create your reality, but you create it with a you who lives behind even who you think you are. An all-powerful you, which you can't access because there's beliefs that you are powerless hidden in the darkest corners of your unconscious. So if you want to change the world, here's what you got to do. You have to stop seeing the world as having any power to cause whatsoever and start looking inside yourself for the power that's missing in the world. And if you commit to that fully, you're going to reframe your feelings of powerlessness as opportunities to reclaim the power that you had advocated, right? And when you do that, eventually what you're going to find is that as you reclaim the power from whatever it is that seems to be not working out there, let's say it's money, right? That you have problems with money. Instead of seeking for more money out in the world, go inside and face all of the powerlessness you feel around the topic of money until you've completely dissolved it, right? Go into that abyss, feel it out, and what will happen is something will shift and you'll start to feel relaxed. You'll start to feel abundant regardless of what happens outside. And then, relatively soon thereafter, money's going to show up in the outside world in the most miraculous ways. This is how we get into the cycle of actually delivering on the law of attraction promises and the secret and other resources, right? To actually have an effortless life. It's not that we don't take action or that we sit in our house and visualize things and delude ourselves. What we do is we anchor in the abyss of our own darkness and powerlessness. And through that, we reclaim our power, and then the world starts to work with us. The law of attraction starts to bring opportunities into our experience, and we take inspired action, feeling that we already have the fullness of whatever it is we possess. So our personal power then comes through the full acceptance of who we are and the loving generosity that we bring to the world, knowing that nothing at all could ever be lacking because we create our own reality, but we do it from the inside out. Remember this: to change the script, anchor in the abyss. If there's an area of your life, relationships, work, money, or what have you, that's not working, you want to change that script, you have to anchor in that abyss. Because the world is just out picturing your own powerlessness, and there's no way to reclaim your power and fix the world out there until you fix it inside of yourself first. Here's my equation for you to reclaim your power once you've committed to really facing that darkness and reclaiming it from the inside out in whatever areas. Ready? Terror plus rage equals power. Got it? Terror, find what you're most afraid of. Don't minimize it. Feel it fully. Feel it fully. Don't run from your fears. And if you do that long enough, eventually you're going to see that attached to that fear is rage, anger. And when that comes up, I want you to let that up too, and I don't want you to judge it. Don't run from your fear or your anger. What you want to do is feel one until you can also feel the other. Learn to feel your terror and your rage at the same time. Because understand, these are actually your power experienced in a disowned state. When we disown our power, it splits into what appears to be anger, right? And terror. The anger is here to protect us from the terror, which is the part of us that feels unsafe and endangered. So if you're a person who has a tendency more to be aware of anger, right? You can use that, what pisses you off, and get into that energy, but stick with it until you find the fear. And when you get to the terror, don't run from it, stick with that, right? And what will happen is eventually they'll merge back together and you'll have unlimited power, and you will know it within. You will feel your power within. It won't be a question. And that power that you're accessing now is not power over people and events. It's the power to create the entire and change anything in the entire universe effortlessly by merely being who you are and resting in a state of peace, happiness, and calm, courageous joy, pursuing your inspiration with a conviction that you're here to give a gift and that others want it, whether they know it or not. So I'm trying to lead you now into the short path to find and fulfill your life's calling, your life's purpose. And let me tell you, it's a path that requires that you have an indomitable will. Gandhi himself said that he didn't see himself as being any smarter than other people. His secret was that he had cultivated an indomitable will. Willpower is where the rubber meets the road. And we can have all the great ideas and a big, beautiful heart, but if we don't get the gut and the power on board, it's all for nothing. So in parting, I encourage you to experiment with this. I encourage you to interrogate the nature of your reality, to question some of the judgments you may hold about people in power and about your own powerlessness, and to constantly scan inside of yourself to find out where you're hiding fear, where you're hiding anger, and to allow, within the context of your commitment to being powerful in the world, to allow yourself to embrace those feelings and not let them take you over. Embrace them until the alchemy of your intense love transmutes them and helps you reclaim on earth the power that you hold in your deepest spiritual being.